The black iron gates of the Hawthorne estate slid open without a sound. Marcus Hale barely looked up from his phone as his car rolled forward. Another long day. Another meeting that ended with numbers, signatures, and silence. At 48, Marcus was one of the youngest self-made billionaires in the country, a man who owned half the skyline and trusted almost no one inside it. Except his daughter. The car curved around the fountain, tires crunching softly on gravel. As usual, the front of the mansion looked perfect, white stone glowing in the late afternoon sun, windows polished to mirrors, security guards standing in their assigned places like statues. But something was wrong. Marcus frowned and leaned forward. On the front steps, his front steps, two girls were sitting cross-legged on the marble. One was his daughter, Lily Hale, 8 years old, her blonde hair pulled into its usual neat ponytail, knees smudged with dirt in a way that would have sent the staff into panic. A leather-bound book rested open on her lap. The other girl did not belong there. She was thin. Too thin. Her hoodie was several sizes too big, the fabric frayed at the sleeves and darkened with stains that had never fully washed out. Her shoes were worn almost smooth at the soles, toes cracked open like tired mouths. Her hair, dark, tightly braided, had been done with care once, but weeks of dust and sleep had dulled it. A homeless girl. And she was pointing at the book. "No, see," the girl said gently, tapping the page with a careful finger. "If you sound it out slowly, it stops being scary." Lily leaned closer, eyes bright. "So I don't rush?" "Exactly," the girl replied, smiling. "Words are like people. They don't like being pushed." Marcus's breath caught. The car stopped. The driver glanced back. "Sir." Marcus raised a hand. "Wait." His gaze locked on the scene. The homeless girl adjusted herself so the sun wouldn't glare on the page, shielding Lily's eyes with her own hand. There was nothing sloppy about her movements. Nothing desperate. She spoke calmly, patiently, like someone who had done this before. Around them, the world had frozen. Two security guards stood several steps away, stiff and unsure. One had his hand hovering near his earpiece, the other scanning the grounds like this was some kind of trap. A housekeeper peeked from behind a column, eyes wide with disbelief. No one spoke. Marcus stepped out of the car. The sound of his shoes against the gravel snapped the moment in half. The homeless girl looked up first. Her smile vanished. Fear replaced it instantly, raw, practiced fear. The kind learned from too many nights being chased away, too many doors slammed, too many adults who saw her as a problem instead of a child. She stood up so fast the book slipped from Lily's lap. "I'm sorry," the girl said quickly, hands lifting in surrender. "I didn't take anything. She asked me to help her read. I can leave. I'll leave right now." "Wait." Lily jumped up, grabbing the girl's sleeve. "Daddy, no, please." Marcus stopped a few feet away. Up close, the girl looked younger than he'd thought. 11. Maybe 12. Her face was smudged with dirt, but her eyes were sharp, dark and intelligent, watching him closely, measuring the danger. She didn't cry. That unsettled him more than if she had. "Who are you?" Marcus asked. His voice was calm, controlled. The same voice that made boardrooms fall silent. The girl swallowed. "My name is Ava, sir." "And what are you doing on my property, Ava?" She glanced at Lily, then back at him. "Teaching." Marcus's jaw tightened. "Teaching," he repeated. "You don't find that strange?" Before Ava could answer, Lily stepped in front of her. "She's helping me," Lily said, her small hands clenched into fists. "The tutors don't explain it like she does. Ava makes it make sense." One of the guards shifted uncomfortably. Marcus felt something twist in his chest, something sharp and unfamiliar. He looked at the open book on the steps. It wasn't a children's book. It was one of Lily's advanced reading materials. The kind he paid thousands for specialists to teach. "Is that true?" he asked Ava. She nodded once. "Yes, sir." "How long have you been coming here?" A pause. Honest hesitation. "A few days," she said. "I sit by the fence sometimes. She talks to me." Marcus exhaled slowly. His daughter, protected by walls, cameras, money, had been talking to a homeless child beyond the gates. Learning from her. Trusting her. And somehow, thriving. Marcus glanced around. Why did no one stop this? No one answered. The silence pressed down heavy. He looked back at Ava. Her shoulders were tense, ready for the inevitable order. "Leave. Go. Don't come back." He'd given those orders before. To adults. To intruders. But never to a child standing barefoot on his marble steps, clutching dignity with both hands. "Pick up the book," he said. Ava blinked. "Sir." "The book," he repeated. She bent and picked it up carefully, brushing dust from the cover before handing it to Lily. Marcus watched closely. No theft. No rush. No resentment. Just respect. Something inside him shifted. He straightened. "Everyone," Marcus said, his voice carrying across the courtyard, "leave us." The guards hesitated. Now. They moved. Marcus turned back to the two girls. "Sit," he said. Ava slowly lowered herself back onto the step. Lily sat beside her, close enough that their shoulders touched. Marcus remained standing, looking down at them both. One had everything. The other had nothing. And yet, the one with nothing had become the teacher. Marcus Hale had walked into many shocking moments in his life. But none of them prepared him for what he was about to learn. The marble steps were cold beneath Ava's legs, but she didn't shift or complain. She sat straight, hands folded loosely in her lap, eyes flicking only once toward the iron gates. As if checking how far she'd need to run if things went bad. Then she focused back on Lily, just like before. Marcus noticed that. "Go on," Lily whispered to her. "You were explaining the hard part." Ava hesitated, then glanced up at Marcus. "Is it okay?" The billionaire studied her face. Not defiant. Not begging. Just careful. "Yes," he said. "Explain." Ava nodded once and turned back to the book. "So this word," she said softly, pointing, "looks big. But it's really two small words pretending to be one. You just have to be patient enough to find the break." Lily smiled. "Like hiding." "Exactly," Ava said. "Words hide sometimes." Marcus felt something tighten in his chest. He'd watched world-class educators work with his daughter. He'd paid for methods, programs, results. But none of them had ever spoken to Lily like this, like her confusion wasn't a flaw, but a puzzle worth solving together. Ava didn't rush her. When Lily stumbled over a sentence, Ava didn't correct her immediately. She waited. Let Lily hear herself. Let her fix it. "You got this," Ava murmured. "Your brain just needs a second." Lily read the line again. This time, she didn't stumble. Her face lit up. "I did it." "Yes, you did," Ava said, grinning. "See? Told you." Marcus looked away for a moment. He didn't know why, but his eyes burned. "How did you learn to teach like that?" he asked quietly. Ava's smile softened, but it didn't fade. "Because no one ever taught me." The words landed heavier than she probably intended. Marcus turned back to her. "You never went to school." "I did," she said. A long time ago. Before. Before what? Ava traced a crack in the marble with her finger. Before my mom got sick. Before we moved a lot. Before books became something I borrowed instead of owned. Lily reached for her hand without thinking. Ava let her. Marcus noticed that too. What are you teaching her besides reading? He asked. Ava tilted her head, thinking. Mostly how not to be scared of getting things wrong. Lily nodded eagerly. She says mistakes are proof you're trying. Marcus swallowed. He had built his entire empire on perfection. On never failing publicly. On never being seen as weak. And here was a homeless girl teaching his daughter something no amount of money ever had. Why do you help her? He asked. Ava answered without hesitation. Because she listens. Lily laughed. You listen too. Ava smiled. That's because you matter. Marcus stiffened. Everyone matters, Ava added quickly, glancing up at him. Even when they don't feel like it. There was no accusation in her voice. No lesson directed at him. But it felt like one anyway. Marcus cleared his throat. And what do you get out of this? Ava shrugged. Practice. Practice for what? For when I can teach for real, she said simply. Teach where? She gestured vaguely. Anywhere they'll let me. Marcus looked at her hands again. Small. Calloused. Ink smudges on her fingers from writing on scrap paper, maybe cardboard. You don't ask for anything, he said. Ava shook her head. I don't like owing people. Lily frowned. But friends help each other. Ava smiled sadly. I know. I'm still learning how to let that happen. Marcus had negotiated billion-dollar deals without blinking. But for the first time in years, he didn't know what to say. A breeze moved through the courtyard. Ava instinctively shifted closer to Lily, angling her body between the wind and the smaller girl. Protective. Natural. Untrained. Marcus saw it then, not just intelligence, but instinct. Leadership. Care. This girl wasn't pretending to be a teacher. She was one. And suddenly, the question wasn't why she was here. It was why the world had let her fall so far outside its gates. Marcus straightened slowly. Inside the house, a voice called out, sharp, impatient. Mr. Hale. A tutor's voice. A reminder of the world he'd built. Marcus didn't answer immediately. He looked at Ava, then at Lily, sitting shoulder to shoulder on cold marble, learning in a way no lesson plan had ever allowed. And for the first time, Marcus Hale felt something dangerously unfamiliar. Doubt. Marcus Hale straightened his jacket, the movement small but deliberate. It was the same adjustment he made before boardroom confrontations, before firing executives who had disappointed him, before shutting down arguments with a single sentence. Control was his armor. Distance was his weapon. And suddenly, he needed both. This ends now, he said. The words were calm. Too calm. Ava's shoulders tensed instantly. Lily felt it and turned to her, confusion clouding her face. Daddy? Lily said. Marcus didn't look at her. His gaze stayed on Ava. You should not be here, he continued. This property is private. My daughter's safety is not a game. I understand, sir, Ava said quickly. I didn't come inside. I stayed by the steps. I never touched anything that wasn't given to me. Marcus lifted a hand, cutting her off. Intent doesn't erase risk. The sentence came automatically. A line he'd used 100 times before. Lily stood up. She's not a risk. A guard took a step forward without realizing it. Marcus noticed. Stay where you are, he said sharply. The guard froze. Marcus exhaled through his nose and looked back at Ava. How did you get past security? Ava hesitated. I didn't. I sit by the fence. Your daughter comes to me. That landed wrong. Marcus's jaw tightened. His daughter, slipping past protocols, schedules, cameras. All for a girl who slept on concrete. You shouldn't encourage that, he said. I didn't, Ava replied. I told her she could get in trouble. Lily protested. She did. She always says that. Marcus felt the eyes of the staff burning into him now, waiting to see how he would handle this. The billionaire. The father. The man who didn't tolerate weakness. This is inappropriate, he said. You don't know us. You don't know what kind of danger you're putting her in. Ava lifted her chin. I would never hurt her. Marcus laughed once. Short. Humorless. Every dangerous person says that. The words hit harder than he intended. Ava flinched. Not because she was offended. Because she was used to it. I know how this looks, she said quietly. And I know what people think when they see me. But I was just helping. Helping how? Marcus snapped. By making yourself indispensable. By earning sympathy. Lily gasped. Daddy. Ava shook her head. No, sir. I don't want anything from you. That's what worries me, Marcus said. People who want nothing are unpredictable. The courtyard felt smaller. Colder. Ava wrapped her arms around herself, not for warmth, but to stay steady. I can go, she said. I was leaving anyway. She turned to Lily and knelt so they were eye to eye. You did really good today, she whispered. Remember what I told you about the big words. Lily's eyes filled with tears. Come back tomorrow. Ava hesitated. Marcus watched closely. I don't think your dad wants that, Ava said gently. Marcus opened his mouth to correct her, to assert authority, to end this cleanly. But Lily spoke first. She makes me feel smart, Lily said, her voice shaking. The tutors make me feel broken. The word struck like a slap. Marcus stiffened. That's not fair, he said. They're trained professionals. They don't listen, Lily cried. Ava listens. The staff shifted uncomfortably. One of the tutors looked down at the ground. Marcus felt anger rise, hot and fast. Not at Ava. At himself. At the idea that despite all his effort, all his money, he'd missed something this obvious. Still, pride pushed back. This is not a discussion, he said firmly. Ava, you will leave now. Ava nodded. No argument. No tears. She stood slowly, brushing dust from her hoodie. For a moment, she looked small again. Just a homeless girl being sent away from a world she didn't belong in. But then she met Marcus's eyes. There's one thing, she said. Marcus raised a brow. What? You're teaching her to be careful, Ava continued. That's important. But don't teach her to be afraid of people who look different. That part stays with you forever. Silence fell like a dropped glass. Marcus didn't respond. Ava turned and walked toward the gate, shoulders squared, head high. Lily broke free and ran after her, wrapping her arms around Ava's waist. Don't go, she sobbed. Ava froze. Marcus felt something inside him crack. This wasn't security. This wasn't protocol. This was a child losing the first person who ever made her feel understood. And for the first time, Marcus Hale wasn't sure if he was protecting his daughter. Or punishing her. Lily's arms were locked tight around Ava's waist, her small body shaking as she cried into the worn fabric of the girl's hoodie. Please don't send her away, Lily begged. Please, Daddy. The courtyard felt unbearably quiet. Ava gently tried to pry Lily's hands loose. "It's okay," she whispered. "I don't want you to get in trouble because of me." "I don't care." Lily cried. "You're the only one who understands me." Marcus stood frozen. His daughter had never raised her voice at him before. Never pleaded like this. Lily was the kind of child who followed rules, who tried to be perfect, who swallowed disappointment because she didn't want to be a burden. Seeing her like this, raw, desperate, shook him. "Lily," Marcus said carefully, "let go." She didn't. She turned to face him instead, tears streaking her cheeks. "Why are you doing this?" Marcus hesitated. "Because I'm responsible for your safety." "She keeps me safe," Lily shot back. "She makes me feel brave." The words hit harder than any accusation. Marcus opened his mouth, then closed it again. A tutor cleared her throat nervously. "Mr. Hale, perhaps this really isn't appropriate." "Stop," Marcus snapped. The tutor fell silent. Lily took a shaky breath. "You hired people to teach me everything," she said, her voice trembling but steady. "But no one taught me that it was okay to be slow. Or confused. Or scared." She wiped her face with her sleeve. "Ava did." Marcus looked at Ava again. She stood quietly, eyes down, giving Lily the space to speak. She wasn't using the moment. She wasn't feeding the drama. She was letting Lily be heard. "I don't feel stupid when she teaches me," Lily continued. "I don't feel like I'm disappointing anyone." Her voice cracked. "I already feel like that all the time." The courtyard seemed to tilt. Marcus felt a pressure behind his eyes he hadn't felt since Lily's mother died. Since the day he promised himself he'd give his daughter everything. Everything, except understanding. "Daddy," Lily whispered, "if you make her leave, you're telling me that kindness doesn't matter. That people only belong if they're rich enough." Marcus flinched. "That's not what I'm saying." "It is," Lily insisted. "That's what everyone says. Just not out loud." Ava finally spoke. "Lily, it's okay." "No," Lily said, turning back to her. "You always stand up for me. Let me stand up for you." She faced her father again, standing straighter now, small but unyielding. She didn't ask for food. She didn't ask for money. She didn't ask to come inside. She just helped me. Marcus looked around. The guards. The staff. The tutors. All watching. Waiting to see if the billionaire would listen to an 8-year-old girl over his own authority. "Daddy," Lily said one last time, her voice barely above a whisper, "please don't take the only person who makes me feel like I'm enough." Marcus's chest tightened. This wasn't rebellion. This was honesty. He walked forward slowly and knelt down, so he was eye level with his daughter. "When did you start feeling like that?" he asked quietly. Lily hesitated, then shrugged. "A long time ago." That answer broke something in him. Marcus closed his eyes for a brief moment, then looked up at Ava. "You're not leaving," he said. Ava's head snapped up. "Sir." "Not yet," Marcus corrected. "We're not done talking." The guards relaxed slightly. Lily let out a shaky laugh and hugged Ava again. For the first time since arriving home, Marcus Hale wasn't the most powerful person in the courtyard. His daughter was. And she had just changed everything. The sun had begun to sink, casting long shadows across the courtyard. The marble steps that once felt like a battleground now felt quiet, almost sacred. Marcus rose slowly. "Let's sit," he said, gesturing toward the bench beneath the oak tree. Ava hesitated. She had learned long ago that invitations from powerful people often came with invisible strings. "I can stay here," she said, remaining where she was. That wasn't a command, Marcus replied. It was a request. That surprised her. After a moment, she followed Lily to the bench and sat at the far edge, leaving space between herself and the billionaire. Lily immediately scooted closer until their shoulders touched. Marcus sat across from them. Earlier, he said gently, you said, before. Before what? Ava stared at the ground. For a second, Marcus thought she might refuse. That she'd shut down, build the walls she'd clearly perfected. Instead, she took a breath. Before my mom died. The words came out steady. But the steadiness felt practiced. Lily's hand tightened around Ava's. She got sick, Ava continued. Real sick. Hospitals cost money. We didn't have any. Marcus didn't interrupt. I used to read to her, Ava said. When she couldn't sleep. She said my voice made her forget the pain. Her throat tightened, but she kept going. When she passed, I went to stay with relatives. They didn't like kids who asked questions. Or kids who read instead of working. Marcus felt a familiar anger stir. Sharp and cold. I ran away, Ava said simply. I was 10. Lily gasped. You were my age. Ava nodded. I thought if I stayed smart, I'd be okay. Marcus leaned forward. Where did you sleep? Ava shrugged. Anywhere safe. Libraries during the day. Bus stations when it rained. Abandoned places if they were quiet. Did anyone help you? Lily asked. Ava smiled softly. A few people. Most just looked through me. Marcus clenched his jaw. What about school? He asked. I'd watch through windows, Ava said. I'd copy lessons off chalkboards when teachers weren't looking. Books were easier. They don't chase you away. Marcus felt something heavy settle in his chest. You teach other kids too? He asked. Ava nodded. The little ones mostly. Some can't read. Some just need someone to talk to. And what do you get for that? Marcus asked again. Ava met his eyes. Proof I still exist. The words landed like a punch. Marcus looked away, struggling to keep his composure. Lily wiped her eyes. You're not invisible, she said fiercely. You're the bravest person I know. Ava's lips trembled. She quickly masked it with a small smile. Thanks. Silence stretched. Finally, Marcus spoke. Why didn't you ever steal? Or lie? Or hurt someone to survive? Ava thought for a moment. Because my mom said the world takes enough from us. We don't have to help it. Marcus felt his chest ache. This girl, this child, had endured more loss than most adults and still carried herself with more integrity than people he did business with every day. A housekeeper nearby quietly wiped her eyes. Marcus stood. Everyone tensed again. I need to make a phone call, he said. Stay here. Ava stiffened. I don't want the police. They're not coming, Marcus said firmly. I promise. He walked a few steps away, phone to his ear, his back turned, but his shoulders were tight. This wasn't about charity. This was about reckoning. When he returned, his expression was unreadable. Ava, he said, what do you want? She looked confused. Right now? Yes. She thought for a long time. I want Lily to keep believing she's smart, she said finally. And I want a place where reading isn't something I have to hide. Marcus nodded slowly. That answer told him everything he needed to know. This girl wasn't broken. She was unprotected. And the realization made him furious, not at her, but at a world that let children like Ava slip through its fingers unnoticed. Marcus Hale had built companies, towers, and legacies. But as he looked at the girl beside his daughter, he understood something with terrifying clarity. Some of the most valuable minds on Earth never make it past survival. And he had a choice to make. The courtyard doors slid open. Laughter spilled out. A woman in a tailored cream suit stepped into the fading sunlight, heels clicking sharply against the marble. Ms. Caldwell, Lily's private tutor, had arrived early for the evening session, her posture flawless, her expression already pinched with disapproval. She stopped short when she saw Ava. Her eyes traveled from the girl's worn shoes to her oversized hoodie, then to the way Lily was sitting far too close. "What is this? A mess?" Caldwell asked. The words cut through the calm like a blade. Marcus turned slowly. "That will be enough." Ms. Caldwell blinked, clearly unaccustomed to being corrected. "Sir, I wasn't aware we were allowing outsiders to loiter with Lily." Ava stood up instinctively. "I'm leaving," she said quickly. "I didn't mean to." "No," Lily snapped. "You're not." Ms. Caldwell's brows lifted. "Lily, sweetheart, you shouldn't speak like that." Lily ignored her and looked at her father. Marcus felt the old reflex kick in, de-escalate, control, end the scene. But something about the way Ava's shoulders had curved inward made him pause. Ms. Caldwell laughed softly. "Honestly, Mr. Hale, this is dangerous. Street children carry all kinds of influences. Habits. Diseases." The word hung in the air. Ava flinched. The housekeeper gasped quietly. Marcus's fingers curled into a fist. Lily's face went red. "She's not dirty." Ms. Caldwell smiled thinly. "I didn't say dirty, dear. I said street." Ava swallowed hard, eyes fixed on the ground. She'd heard worse. Much worse. From police officers. From shop owners. From people who didn't bother lowering their voices. But hearing it here, where she had almost felt safe, hurt differently. "I'll go," Ava said again, her voice barely audible. Marcus didn't stop her. That silence felt like permission. Ms. Caldwell continued, emboldened. "Sir, I recommend security escort her out immediately. Lily is sensitive. Exposure like this can confuse her sense of place." "Sense of place?" Lily cried. "She's a person." Ms. Caldwell sighed. "Some people are meant to observe life from the outside, Lily. That's just reality." That did it. Marcus felt something snap, not loudly, not dramatically, but completely. Still, he said nothing. Ava took a step toward the gate. Her foot caught slightly on the uneven stone. She stumbled. Instinctively, Lily reached out to steady her. Ms. Caldwell scoffed. "Careful, Lily. You don't know where she's been." The words echoed. "Too far." Ava straightened slowly. She turned, not toward the tutor, but toward Marcus. Not angry. Just tired. "I'm sorry," Ava said. "I shouldn't have crossed the gate." She held his gaze, eyes glossy but unbroken. "You were right," she added quietly. "People like me don't belong everywhere." Lily sobbed. Marcus still didn't speak. And that was the most dangerous part. Ms. Caldwell mistook his silence for agreement. "I'll call security," she said, reaching for her phone. "Don't," Lily screamed. Ms. Caldwell paused, annoyed. "Lily, this isn't your decision." She was wrong. Marcus finally stepped forward. But before he could speak, Ava turned away. She walked toward the gate with her head high, shoulders straight, dignity intact, carrying humiliation like a weight she'd been forced to learn how to balance. The staff watched. The guards watched. The world watched. And Marcus Hale stood in the middle of it all, realizing something too late. Doing nothing had hurt just as much as saying the words himself. And whatever choice he made next would define the kind of man his daughter would remember. Ava. The single word stopped her. She was 3 steps from the gate when Marcus Hale finally spoke her name. The guards tensed, ready to move if commanded. Ms. Caldwell smirked faintly, already certain of the outcome. Ava turned slowly. Yes, sir. Marcus walked toward her, his face unreadable. The courtyard felt smaller with every step he took. Before you leave, he said, I want to understand something. Ms. Caldwell scoffed. Sir, there's really no need. Quiet, Marcus said without looking at her. The word landed like a hammer. He turned back to Ava. You said you teach children. Yes. How? Ava hesitated. By listening first. Marcus nodded once, then reached into his jacket pocket. He pulled out his phone and opened a document, one he recognized immediately. It was one of Lily's assessment reports. Advanced. Complex. Written by professionals who charged obscene fees. He handed the phone to Ava. Read this. Ava blinked. Sir. Out loud. Ms. Caldwell's eyebrows shot up. That report is confidential. Marcus didn't respond. Ava took the phone carefully, as if it might shatter. She scanned the page once. Then she began to read. Her voice was steady. Clear. Confident. Not stumbling. Not guessing. She finished and handed the phone back. Marcus studied her. Explain it. Ava frowned slightly. You want me to explain the words or the problem? The problem. Ava thought for a moment. They're testing her speed instead of her understanding. She knows the answers. She just processes them differently. Silence. Ms. Caldwell's smile faded. Ava continued, unaware of the impact. If you slow down the instruction and let her teach it back to you, you'll see she understands more than the test shows. Marcus felt something heavy drop into place. That's exactly what the specialist said, Ms. Caldwell muttered, confused. Marcus turned to her. After 3 months and 6 figures. He looked back at Ava. Where did you learn that? Ava shrugged. Kids taught me. Marcus exhaled slowly. He gestured toward the bench. Sit. Ava obeyed. Marcus picked up the book Lily had been reading and flipped to a page. Teach me, he said. Ava blinked. Sir. Teach me the way you teach her. Ms. Caldwell laughed nervously. This is highly irregular. Marcus didn't look at her. So is humiliating a child. The laughter died. Ava took the book, hands trembling just slightly. She pointed to a paragraph. Read this, she said to Marcus. He did. He stumbled over a word. Ava didn't correct him. She waited. Try again, she said gently. You're rushing. Marcus read it again. This time, he got it. A strange smile tugged at his lips. That's it, Ava said. See? You already knew it. Marcus straightened. He looked at Ava, not as a trespasser, not as a threat, but as a mirror reflecting something he'd forgotten. Intelligence didn't wear suits. Wisdom didn't ask permission. Ms. Caldwell shifted uneasily. Sir, with respect, this proves nothing. Talent without discipline is. Enough, Marcus said. He turned back to Ava. Why didn't you correct me when I got it wrong? Ava answered without hesitation. Because being wrong isn't the problem. Feeling ashamed of it is. The words hit harder than any insult. Marcus closed the book. For the first time that day, his decision was clear. This girl wasn't manipulating anyone. She wasn't looking for pity. She was teaching the one lesson no amount of wealth could buy. Marcus Hale looked at his daughter. Then back at Ava. And in that moment, the power dynamic shifted forever. The sky above the estate had darkened to a deep blue, the first stars blinking faintly into view. Lights along the courtyard flickered on, casting long golden shadows across the stone. No one moved. Not the guards. Not the staff. Not Ms. Caldwell. All eyes were on Ava. Marcus broke the silence. You didn't answer my earlier question. Ava looked up. Which one? Why you keep teaching, he said. Even when it costs you. Ava's fingers tightened around the edge of the book. I don't think learning should stop just because life gets hard, she said slowly. If it does, then the hardest lives lose everything. Marcus studied her face. You talk like someone who's lost more than most. Ava didn't deny it. She glanced at Lily, then back at Marcus. When my mom was still alive, she used to say something. Marcus waited. She said, if the world ever tries to make you small, learn something it can't take away. A hush fell over the courtyard. Ava swallowed. So I did. She began to speak more openly now, as if the dam had already broken. I taught myself with library books. Old textbooks. Notes people threw away. When I didn't understand something, I'd find another book and try again. Ms. Caldwell crossed her arms. Self-study is admirable, but it doesn't replace formal education. Ava looked at her calmly. I know. But hunger doesn't wait for enrollment. Marcus felt anger flare again. But he let Ava continue. There were nights I was so tired I couldn't see straight, Ava said. But if I stopped reading, the fear got louder. Lily squeezed her hand. I'd help other kids because, when you teach someone else, you forget how scared you are, Ava added. And for a little while, you feel useful. Marcus's voice was quiet. You feel seen. Ava nodded. Yes. Silence stretched again. Then Marcus asked the question that had been circling his mind all day. If I hadn't come home early, he said, what would have happened? Ava didn't hesitate. We would have finished the chapter. She would have felt proud. And I would have gone back to my spot by the fence before dark. That answer broke something in him. No expectation. No entitlement. No plan beyond kindness. Ms. Caldwell scoffed. This is all very touching, but sentiment doesn't change reality. She's still homeless. Ava flinched. But Marcus didn't let the words pass this time. Reality, he said sharply, is that she has given my daughter something none of us have. Ms. Caldwell stiffened. Sir. Confidence, Marcus continued. Patience. A belief that intelligence isn't measured by speed or polish. He turned to Ava. Do you know how much I pay for tutors? Ava shook her head. I don't want to know. Marcus almost smiled. They never taught her that, he said. Ava lowered her gaze. I didn't mean to make anyone look bad. That's the point, Marcus replied. You weren't trying to. Ms. Caldwell opened her mouth to protest again, but Marcus raised a hand. Enough, he said. You've spoken plenty. He turned back to Ava. You said you once went to school. Which one? Ava hesitated, then named it. Marcus's eyes widened almost imperceptibly. It was a good school. Not elite, but solid. Structured. Real. You were a top student, weren't you? He asked. Ava nodded slowly. Before things fell apart. Marcus inhaled deeply. In his world, potential was groomed, protected, invested in. But here it was, raw potential, left to fend for itself. A guard cleared his throat. Sir, the press sometimes monitors. Marcus cut him off with a look. Not now. He turned back to Ava, his voice softer than anyone had ever heard it. You didn't just help my daughter read, he said. You taught her how to believe in herself. Ava's eyes filled with tears, but she blinked them back quickly. I just didn't want her to feel the way I did, she said. Marcus nodded. And in that moment, he made a decision that would ripple far beyond his gates. The air in the courtyard felt charged, like the second before a storm breaks. Because the truth was out now. This wasn't a coincidence. This wasn't charity. This was a collision between privilege and resilience. And it was about to change everything. Marcus Hale took a step forward. Then another. The courtyard was silent enough to hear the faint hum of the estate lights, the soft rustle of leaves in the oak tree above them. Ava noticed first. She straightened instinctively, bracing herself for whatever came next, dismissal, pity, conditions dressed up as kindness. Instead, Marcus stopped in front of her. And then. He lowered himself. Right there on the stone courtyard, the billionaire knelt. Gasps rippled through the staff. Ms. Caldwell's mouth fell open. The guard stared, unsure whether to intervene or pretend they weren't seeing this. Marcus Hale, the man who never bowed to anyone, was now eye level with a homeless girl in worn shoes. Ava, he said quietly. She froze. Sir. I owe you an apology. The words landed like thunder. Lily's breath caught. Ms. Caldwell whispered, Sir, this really isn't. Marcus raised a hand without turning around. I said nothing to you. He looked back at Ava, his voice steady but stripped of authority. I judged you, he continued. I assumed danger where there was none. I stayed silent when someone humiliated you in my home. Ava didn't speak. She wasn't sure she was allowed to. I failed you, Marcus said. And I failed my daughter. Lily's eyes filled with tears again, but this time they were different, relieved, validating. Marcus swallowed. You walked away with dignity when most adults would have shouted. You taught my child when I outsourced understanding. And you asked for nothing. He paused, then added, that says more about your character than any resume ever could. Ava's hands trembled. I didn't mean to cause trouble, she said softly. Marcus shook his head. You caused truth. He stood slowly, then did something even more shocking. He extended his hand to her. Not as charity. Not as command. As respect. Ava stared at it for a long second before carefully placing her small hand in his. The moment felt electric. Marcus turned to the staff, his voice firm now. But changed. From this moment on, he said, this girl is my guest. Anyone who disrespects her disrespects me. Ms. Caldwell stiffened. Mr. Hale. Marcus finally faced her fully. You spoke about place, he said coldly. Let me be clear. The courtyard seemed to hold its breath. The only people who don't belong here are those who confuse privilege with worth. Ms. Caldwell went pale. Lily stepped forward and hugged Ava tightly. Marcus placed a hand on Lily's shoulder. You were right, he said to his daughter. Thank you for reminding me. Ava looked between them, overwhelmed. I don't understand, she admitted. Why are you doing this? Marcus met her eyes. Because my daughter learned more from you in 3 afternoons than she has in months. He added quietly, and because the world has taken enough from you. For the first time since she'd stepped onto the marble steps, Ava let a tear fall. She wiped it away quickly, embarrassed. Marcus smiled gently. You don't have to be strong here. The words broke her. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just enough for Lily to pull her close and whisper, you're safe. The staff stood stunned. The billionaire had chosen. Not money. Not image. Not control. He had chosen humanity. And what he would do next would make sure no one ever forgot it. Marcus Hale didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. The quiet authority in his posture carried farther than shouting ever could. "Ms. Caldwell," he said, turning slowly, "how long have you been tutoring my daughter?" She straightened instinctively. 2 years, sir. And in that time, Marcus continued, how often have you made her feel incapable? Ms. Caldwell blinked. I don't. Answer the question. The courtyard felt like a courtroom. Ms. Caldwell swallowed. That was never my intention. Marcus nodded. Intent doesn't erase impact. Ava's words returned to their sender. Lily stood beside Ava now, holding her hand tightly. Marcus gestured toward them. My daughter cried today. Not because she couldn't read, but because she felt broken. Ms. Caldwell's face flushed. Children need discipline. Structure. If we coddle them. You humiliated a child, Marcus said flatly. 2 of them. The staff murmured. Ms. Caldwell's composure cracked. Sir, with respect, this girl manipulated the situation. Children like her learn survival tactics. That's enough, Marcus said. His voice hardened. You will not speak about her like that again. Not here. Not anywhere under my name. Ms. Caldwell opened her mouth, then closed it. Marcus turned to the head of security. Escort Ms. Caldwell out. Gasps rippled through the courtyard. Sir, the guard hesitated. She's terminated, Marcus said. Effective immediately. MS. Caldwell's eyes widened. You can't be serious. I am, Marcus replied. Clear your things. She looked around for support. There was none. As she was escorted away, Marcus addressed the remaining staff. Let me be very clear, he said. This house does not measure worth by appearance, income, or polish. Anyone who does is free to find employment elsewhere. No one spoke. This child, he gestured to Ava, taught my daughter kindness, patience, and courage. If that threatens you, you don't belong near my family. He paused. And if I ever see another child disrespected in this house, guest or not, I will consider it a personal failure. The words carried weight. Lily looked up at him, or replacing tears. Ava stood frozen, unsure where to look. Marcus turned to her gently. You didn't deserve what was said to you. Ava nodded slowly. I'm used to it. Marcus shook his head. You shouldn't be. He turned to the housekeeper who had watched silently. Please bring water. And something warm. The woman hurried inside. Marcus knelt again, briefly, so he was level with Ava. I'm sorry I didn't stop it sooner, he said quietly. Silence is a choice. I chose wrong. Ava's voice was barely audible. Thank you for choosing again. The words settled deep in his chest. The housekeeper returned with a blanket and water. Ava accepted them shyly. Lily wrapped the blanket around Ava herself. Marcus watched the 2 girls, one born into wealth, the other into hardship, standing together as equals. He addressed the staff one final time. This moment doesn't end tonight, he said. It changes how we move forward. No applause. No drama. Just a line drawn, clear and final. And for the first time in a long time, Marcus Hale felt something close to peace. Because justice had been served. Not with anger. But with accountability. The night had settled fully by the time the courtyard grew quiet again. Most of the staff had dispersed, carrying the weight of what they'd just witnessed. The guards resumed their posts, but their posture was different now, less rigid, more aware. Marcus turned to Ava. Come inside, he said gently. Ava froze. Inside. The word alone felt forbidden. I can't, she said quickly. I don't belong. Marcus held up a hand. Not as a favor. Not as charity. He searched her face carefully before continuing. As a choice. Ava looked down at her worn shoes. What if I say no? Marcus nodded. Then I'll respect it. No pressure. No trap. Lily squeezed Ava's hand. Just come see my room, she whispered. You don't have to stay. Ava hesitated, then nodded once. Inside, the mansion felt different than she'd imagined. Not cold. Not intimidating. Just, quiet. Marcus led them to a sitting room with warm lighting and shelves lined with books. Real books, not decorations. Ava's breath caught. You like reading, Marcus said. I thought this might feel safer than a bedroom. She nodded slowly, eyes tracing the shelves like they might disappear. Marcus sat across from her. I want to make something clear before we go any further. Ava met his gaze. I will not own your future, he said. You don't owe me loyalty, gratitude, or obedience. Her brow furrowed in confusion. What I can offer, he continued, is safety while you decide what you want. Lily beamed. You can stay, Marcus added, as long as it helps you, not because it helps us. Ava's hands shook. School? She asked quietly. If you want, Marcus replied. At your pace. With teachers who listen. And if I don't? Then we find another way. Ava swallowed hard. I don't want to stop teaching. Marcus smiled. Good. Neither do I. He gestured toward the shelves. You can start here. Lily insists you're her study partner. Lily grinned. Forever. Ava laughed through tears. Later that night, after Lily had gone to bed, Ava stood in the doorway of the guest room Marcus had prepared, not lavish, just clean, warm, safe. She turned to him. Why are you really doing this? Marcus thought for a long moment. Because my daughter needed you, he said. And because you deserved someone to notice. Ava nodded slowly. Just one thing, she said. Anything. Don't tell people my story without asking, she said. It's mine. Marcus placed a hand over his heart. You have my word. That night, Ava slept in a real bed for the first time in months. Not as a rescue. Not as a headline. But as a child allowed to rest. And somewhere down the hall, Marcus Hale realized something profound. The greatest investment he'd ever made hadn't been in a company. But in a child who reminded him what wealth was for. 5 years later. The room buzzed with quiet energy, rows of children seated at long tables, notebooks open, pencils tapping with anticipation. Sunlight streamed through tall windows, illuminating shelves stacked with books in every language and reading level. Above the doorway, a simple sign read. The Open Pages Learning Center. Marcus Hale stood near the back of the room, unnoticed. He preferred it that way. At the front, a young woman adjusted a stack of papers and smiled at the children gathered before her. Her hoodie was gone. Her shoes were new, but practical. Her hair was neatly braided, the same way it had been years ago, only now done with care instead of survival. Ava. All right, she said warmly, remember, there's no such thing as a stupid question. A few kids laughed nervously. That means if you're thinking it, Ava continued, someone else probably is too. The children relaxed instantly. Marcus felt a familiar tightness in his chest. He had watched her grow. Academically, emotionally, quietly. School at her pace. Mentors who listened. Resources without control. But most importantly, freedom. Ava moved through the room, kneeling beside a boy struggling with a paragraph. Big words are just small words wearing coats, she said with a grin. The boy smiled and tried again. Marcus closed his eyes briefly. He'd heard those words before. Across the room, Lily Hale, now 13, sat helping a younger girl sound out her first sentence. Their heads leaned together, mirroring a moment from long ago on marble steps. Ava caught Marcus watching and smiled. After the session ended, the kids filed out, laughing and talking, clutching books like treasure. Ava walked over to Marcus. "You're late," she teased. "I wanted to listen first," he replied. They sat on a bench near the windows. "I got accepted," Ava said casually. Marcus smiled. "I know." She raised a brow. "You promised not to spy." "I didn't," he said. "You told me yourself." She laughed. "Right. Are you nervous?" he asked. Ava shook her head. "Excited. And scared. But not the bad kind." Marcus nodded. "You did this," she said quietly. "No," he corrected. "You did." She looked out at the room, the children, the books, the life built from patience instead of pity. "Do you ever think about that day?" she asked. "All the time," Marcus admitted. "It changed me." "Me too," Ava said. It was the first time someone powerful listened. Marcus exhaled. "It was the first time I realized power means nothing if it doesn't protect the vulnerable." Lily joined them, dropping into the seat beside Ava. "She taught me again today," Lily said proudly. Ava smiled. "She's a fast learner." Marcus looked at the two of them, his daughter and the girl who had once taught her how not to be afraid. Years ago, he had thought wealth was about insulation. Now he knew it was about access. A reporter approached hesitantly. "Mr. Hale, one question. What inspired all of this?" Marcus glanced at Ava. She gave a small nod. He turned back to the reporter. "A homeless girl once taught my daughter on my front steps," he said. "And I almost sent her away." The reporter leaned in. "What stopped you?" Marcus smiled softly. "My daughter reminded me that intelligence doesn't ask for permission, and kindness doesn't need credentials." The reporter paused. "And the girl?" Marcus looked toward Ava, now laughing with Lily. "She taught us all," he said. As the reporter walked away, Ava turned back to Marcus. "Thank you," she said, "not for the money, not for the building, but for the choice he made years ago." Marcus shook his head. "No," he said. "Thank you for showing us who we were becoming." The sun dipped lower, casting golden light across the learning center. Children's voices echoed in the hall. And somewhere between privilege and poverty, power and humility, a legacy had been born. Not of a billionaire, but of a teacher who arrived with nothing and left the world richer than she found it. If this story reminded you that kindness can change destinies, tell us where you're watching from, and don't forget to subscribe for more powerful stories like this.